I don't have the loudest voice. So, well, speaking of a health transformation, my health transformed last night because I had some shellfish, and I'm allergic to shellfish. And I realized about 2 a.m. that was not a great idea. So hopefully I'll maintain myself up here. But if I make any mistakes, I'll blame the shellfish. So just so you know, today's focus is going to be content SEO. How many people in this audience, with your company, have a blog or post articles? If you could raise your hand. Okay, that's great. So I'm not going to dive deep into too much of the technical aspects of SEO. You can find a lot of that stuff out on the web, a lot of free materials out there, as well as paid materials from Neil Patel and people like that that really helped me getting started. But obviously PJ and the 97.4 team are extremely helpful in the technical aspects of SEO. But I'm going to really speak to on-page SEO. So dive deep into keywords, what exactly that means, our linking strategies, and also snippets and things of that nature. And we're also definitely going to cover the journalist approach to SEO, because a lot of us, especially on my team, we came from a journalist background, not an SEO background, and we've seen it transform. I come from way back when, I'm 46, so I started before any of SEO existed. I used to run magazines, and I used to write articles for newsletters, things like that. Everything was offline, obviously. See, there goes my voice. Okay, so who exactly is Dr. Axe? Amy told you a little bit. If you're ever in a health food store, Whole Foods, even drugstore, CVS, we're all over the place now with our retail supplement, which is ancient nutrition. So kind of the paleo branding. We actually had several different supplement lines. We're folding a lot of that under ancient nutrition. So we support the product side. But if you go to our website, as you see, the shop is in the top right corner. You wouldn't necessarily know we even have products, and that's very intentional. We want to avoid the FTC's eye as much as we can. We're eventually going to morph ancient nutrition into a separate site altogether, just to again stay out of the FTC looking into us too extensively. But mostly, yeah, we're a content site, and that's Josh, Dr. Axe. He's a clinical nutritionist. He's a doctor of natural medicine. He's also a chiropractor. And he came to me in 2014, and he basically wanted somebody to run the content. At that point, he had only 2 people, and now we have about 19 people. So we've grown quite a bit. And he wanted us to up our organic search, and he wanted obviously to have more visits, so we could get people on our newsletters, on our e-newsletters, get people to see our health programs that we were selling, and obviously eventually have just a lot of leads. So here's our current site stats. Actually, it's 14 million back in August. We're up to 16 million. Actually, we're just about to hit the 17 million because January is a very friendly month for us because everybody wants to get healthy. And you can see this is how it looks. It looks cartoonish, like we made that up, but that actually is accurate on those dates. We did, of course, have different fluctuations, but on those dates, on those months, that's occurred with our users. Some of the companies here, obviously, probably much higher, but for the natural health industry, not necessarily the health, but the natural health industry, these are really good numbers for us. But we eventually want to get to 20 million and then 30 million, et cetera. And here's how it breaks down for us in terms of visits. We have 2 years ago, organic search was around 55%. Now it's 76%, which obviously, that's one of our desires. Social 6% used to be up to 14%, but Facebook is so difficult to deal with sometimes in terms of how to optimize to get people to your site. They're always changing their algorithms, and so that has actually shrunk, but we don't have as much of a Facebook spend as we used to have. So that's okay for us. Email, we always want to get that up a little bit higher, but you can see. And direct is, it's a daily destination for hopefully a lot of people. They type in Dr. Axe every day. We try to treat them to 2 to 3 new articles every day, so they have a reason to come to see us. So that's about 9%. But organic search, that's a number we're certainly very proud of. Here's just a quick look at our keyword success. You can see like a lot of those organic keywords are smaller ones, but they're still genuine. But the big number for me is like 786,000 organic keywords that rank 11 to 50. So I'm going to talk a lot about keywords that you companies might have that are on page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you get them to page 1? Because if they're not on page 1, nobody's going to see that post. And here's the other one, 273 keywords with the monthly search, over 20,000. So whenever you guys are going after your keywords, you obviously want to make sure that the search is there. There's certain keywords that you're developing which are smaller, which are more, you hope that it's an article that will go viral, it's not as important. But obviously for the long play, for the long approach, you want a keyword that's going to be, hopefully increase in popularity over the years. And these are, that kind of number kind of tells that story. Here's just a quick look at some of our keywords that we go after. They're not always things you would think of, but like witch hazel, 165,000 searches per month. Activated charcoal, a lot of people don't know what that is, but a lot of people do, and they want to know exactly how to use it. Erythritol, a sweetener that's become very popular, an artificial sweetener. Is it really safe? And every one of these things, we are not necessarily promoting this. I mean, like with collagen, obviously we have a collagen product, so we're going to mostly be generous about our approach to that. But I would say overall, we're sticklers with the facts. So erythritol, we're going to talk about some of the negative aspects as well as the positive aspects. So here are the keywords that bring in at least 10,000 visits a month. So these are the inbound traffic. So these are the really productive keywords. So you can see kombucha is really high for us. Taurine, which is kind of a dangerous supplement that's obviously used in a lot of thermogenic products. So like these fat loss products. That's another that brings in a lot of traffic. Quinoa. So these are the ones that we have to make sure that not only do we continue to look at it, but we continue to update these posts because Google more than ever wants to see a fresh approach with new research, new phrases, new graphics, etc. So we do that, especially for our posts that are bringing in a lot of visits. Google never sleeps is one of our mottos on our content team. Is early on, I noticed that we were posting very infrequently. We'd post like 3 on a Friday, and then we would wait until the next Wednesday. We made sure we got on a regular schedule. So for a while, that was once a day, then it became twice a day. Now it's hopefully 3 times a day. And when I say 3 times a day, 1 or 2 of those 3 will often be just an update. So it won't necessarily appear on a home page, but we're doing something substantial on the back end to tell Google, this is a new article. This isn't something we wrote 2 years ago, but we put in a lot more research in here. We did use a lot of other terms that other competitors are using. We're now using in this article. So so literally on a clock, 6 a.m., 2 p.m., 8 p.m. We're hopefully putting something fresh out there so Google knows we're healthy. And you can see the other aspect here. We go long. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but we definitely go long with our content. So, we invest in finding really good editors and writers, and that is not as much of an obstacle as it would be for other companies, because that's again, if you take a really solid journalist approach, you can get to 2,500 words without as much trouble as you would think. So there's Josh, but how do we get there so fast? 2 years ago, well, I guess 3 years ago now, we were like number 22 or so on the natural health. This is something that Dr. McCullough, who's been out there for 20 years with his website, and he has tons of active backlinks, so that's where he gets a lot of his Google love. But we were like number 22. We wanted to get in the top 10, eventually number 1, obviously. But actually, this is from Alexa. He scrapes it from Alexa, and he's generous enough to now put us above him, which is cool. So this happened back in August. But you can see the other folks here. I just want to emphasize that we're genuine in terms of really wanting to transform people's lives. It's not just an SEO game for us. We live this. We all have, and I think everybody does. Health is becoming a much more important issue with the cost of healthcare. We saw, I don't know if anybody read the news today about Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos, they're coming together to form some health alternatives for their own company, because the three companies involved there have like 800,000 employees. They're going to come up with their own health solutions. And part of the problem is, a lot of people go into bankruptcy because of health. A lot of people are afraid to go to doctors. A lot of people are hooked on pharmaceutical medications. I mean, I'm sure everybody has seen the documentaries about that. I mean, a lot of people are on like 10 plus prescriptions every day. And so that's the audience we cater to. That's a growing audience. And so what we do in general, I think for almost every malady you have, from minor to major, we try to present an approach of, what are the symptoms of this? What are the causes of this? What are the conventional treatments out there that are from big medical? So we're not trying to be overly critical of that, but we're honest about what's the conventional treatment, what works, what doesn't work, and then what's the natural treatments for that condition. And that's, I think a lot of these folks have that same ambition. The difference is I think one of the distinguishing factors, we do more research probably than a lot of their posts. They're longer. And I think we have, we definitely dive deeper into the natural approach than some of these folks. So their editorial standards, again, trying to avoid any too much attention from the FTC. We make sure that any claim we make, we back up. So we are going to obviously, hopefully, back that up with a source. If we say anything about any natural approach that's effective, hopefully there's a study out there. If there's not a study, but it's something that Josh in his clinical experience has experienced, he will say, in my opinion. We'll make it known that this is Josh's hunch, or even greater than a hunch, but it's not necessarily a study out there. Or if it's a study that was done on rats, we're going to say that in this phrase, rather than just link to some study. We're going to tell them this is only done in animal studies. It's not been proven with humans yet. So again, we want to make sure the audience doesn't have to look elsewhere to find out what's the real truth here in terms of how effective, like vitamin D supplementation is going to help their flu. So one thing that, when you're looking for where do you find your SEO folks, I really recommend highly, if you really want to grow, is you go first go to somebody who's a journalist. Because if you look at it, most journalists, everybody on my team, myself included, that was years in the making of becoming a good journalist, learning how to write, learning how to research, learning how to edit, learning how to come up with really engaging headlines. Versus SEO, while it's certainly complicated and technical, and it's not overnight that you learn SEO, you can learn it much more quickly, especially if you already know how to write. So we try to not only teach us continual learning as editors, but our writers, we also teach them how to use SEO, and they kind of get into it. I think everybody here can relate to kind of nerding out on SEO, and we love to do that. And we obviously love to then look at Google Analytics and see how it does. We do different tests, see how it does. Last night I was at dinner with my colleagues, and we did a couple tests where we wrote articles about something really not in our specialty area at all. Like we did an article about organic wine, okay? So we have a lot of competitors out there in terms of wine who have a lot more posts on wines, a lot of wine publications. So could we budge our way in there and get to page 1? So we wrote it about a month, maybe 2 months ago, and much to our delight, we were on the first page of Google for organic wine because we did our SEO homework. But we also did our journalist homework in terms of we interviewed one of the top organic wine producers. He's the head of Dry Farm Wines, and we obviously went deep into the benefits of organic wine compared to conventional wine, et cetera, et cetera. So our content team is mostly editors, writers, and graphic designers. We have 4 to 5 of each of us. So we're not a huge team. We do want to grow bigger, but that's the extent of it. We grew slowly, and we obviously have some freelance writers as well. It's really important with content that you have a fairly diverse editorial lineup. Not only every week, but over the month. So, and you obviously plan out in advance, because that whole term circular virality is something that our president is really into making sure we leverage. So not only obviously will it hopefully go on our website, that article, but our YouTube team and is going to be filming Josh about one of our articles maybe 2 weeks from now, which takes obviously more planning. We obviously have our whole social team, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, that they can plan these in advance. How we use our Pinterest. So Alyssa, who heads up our Pinterest, knows which article is going to be used and can schedule these in advance. So you become literally like a content machine after a while, but it all starts with the editorial lineup. This is how success looks for most companies in terms of what marketers, what they value. And you can see website traffic, search rankings, and then leads. So it's almost like a domino effect, and then sales revenue are the top ones. This is one of his famous quotes. The entire purpose of SEO is to drive traffic, generate leads. Everybody knows that. And here's, again, proof how much businesses value SEO. 81% consider blogs important now, that's a stair stepper in terms of the value of SEO. Inbound leads, the cost is much lower than outbound. Click-through is 34% for the top result on Google, so obviously that's where you want to be. So it's anyway, SEO obviously cheaper, more effective than other advertising methods. So I'm going to dive into this next. So I just want to quickly blast through this. In terms of SEO in 2018, it's obviously challenging. 90% of people did not go past the first page of the search results. By the way, the last slide, I have my email. Anybody emails me, you can email me, I can send you the slideshow. And these other stats, and 70% of search traffic is organic, 30% is the paid. So you see this, obviously the results of the paid results at the top. But most people, so I think that again is going to even increase over time. Most people are savvy enough to understand, I want to go to the real result, not somebody just paid for it. Google obviously has major algorithm changes, and they have a lot of minor ones. You can see they have a lot of minor ones. So it's why you have to continue to look at what they're doing. Google was once, I call it simpleton. You could just keyword stuff your way to success, right? And you have to make sure you have your H1s, H2s, have your alt text for images, permalinks, they're good to go. It's not that way anymore. Now, I say they're very judgy. If you have poor user engagement, you're having heavy pagination where you're sending people to page 1, page 2, page 3. Deceptive ad placement, you're going to get demoted. So that's, again, where 97 Floor comes into play, for us, telling us what they're looking for, what they're going to penalize you for, and they keep you on the cutting edge, because SEO is, you have to be on the cutting edge to succeed. Google never sleeps, like I said, so you can see the number of, this is a HubSpot. Impact of monthly blogs and inbound traffic, those are in the thousands. Obviously, they saw great results there. Obviously sophisticated, so now this is from Backlinko, the quality and authority of content, as well as the backlinks, are the top two ranking factors, really. And then showing topic authority, obviously, is important. So we know for our company, any article we write about nutrition, we're going to be on the first page of Google, hopefully within a couple of weeks. If we write about, some kind of psychological condition, it might take a lot longer, because Google knows we haven't written a lot about psychology. Okay, so it's important to own what you have to ask yourselves. You obviously already have your specialties, but what other specialties you want to develop topically that you can cover. And then there's RankBrain, a strategist at Google admitted that that's the third ranking factor now. So I'm going to get into exactly what that means in a little bit, because I've got 15 minutes left. Voice search, another ranking factor, is a bit like RankBrain. It's the new way to search. Everybody obviously knows mobile is now being used 60 to 70%, depending on what stats you look at. Most people are looking at their content through their smartphone. But now a lot of people are asking Siri, or they're talking to Alexa, and they're asking who, what, why, where, when. And so in the context is really important. And Google wants, obviously, serve you with the top result for that. So it's different than trying to rank for like just like the snippet or even the rich answers. Voice search is going to be the next thing a lot of people are using. They're using now. So Seth Godin's speaking obviously later. Content marketing is the only marketing left. So again, content is really respected more than ever today. So here's the 14 SEO practices. The first is really to master the keywords. So, that's just a review of what I'm going to go over here. So research, again, develop those content areas, investigate your competitors. Obviously, a lot of great SEO tools out there. We use several of them. One of them is Ahrefs, another is SEMrush. You can check out your competitors, see what kind of keywords they're ranking for. And it almost feels like a cheat, but you can obviously cover it very differently for you. I'm sure a lot of people do that. And also just live and read and live in your industry and see what's topically floating up to the top. What kind of trends do you want to cover, et cetera. Then obviously you want to select the main keyword, put a lot of time into that in terms of what kind of search is out there, and then versus what kind of competition do you face. So if we like here kombucha, you can see the keyword difficulty. This is Ahrefs on the left. Huge search volume, right? Very difficult because you need 167 websites to rank, to backlink to you, to rank in the top 10, okay? And then with SEMrush over there, again, it reconfirms how much search is out there. There's about 5 million results. So we know that that's doable for us. If the number of results, competitive URLs are like above 30 million, we know it's going to be, it's going to be a longer challenge. And then, then you take a good look at, like we use SEMrush for a lot of related keywords. You could see like kombucha tea seems to have even higher results, but how to make kombucha. So that's not as many searches, 27,000 per month, but only 1.3 million. So, if you have a recipe team, you could go after that. And then you eventually, hopefully, that's the long tail version. The short tail, you just hopefully get ranked for kombucha itself. So I don't know how many people have used the latent semantic indexing generator. This actually is a free tool that you can use. Google has confirmed that they're using this a lot more. And it spits out a bunch of semantically related searches to your keyword. It's very useful in terms of generating the kind of keywords you want to make sure that your article, your post, your blog post covers. So keyword deployment, obviously these are the important factors. We try to use a keyword every 200 words. We try not to overdo it. We use something called Yoast, which tells us exactly how often we're using it, whether we're using it too often, too little. So you use these tools that tell you exactly what you need to do there. Obviously, you want to have it in your H1 and your H2. You want to make sure you use it in the first 100 words. Make sure you use it at the front of your SEO page title. So like I said, but that being said, we're in the age of semantic search. So while you want one of the more complicated keywords, like health benefits of kombucha, if you want to use that 12 times in a post, Google might not. Number one, it's difficult to write that way. Google also will probably penalize you for it. So instead, you can semantically change how that looks, and Google's smart enough to still give you respect for that. And don't forget the related keywords here at the bottom of Google. Whenever you search, you see the related keywords. We try, again, to inform our writers they need to use these as well as the related keywords from SEMrush, and then we use the LSI keywords. That way you cover all your bases. And if you cover all your bases, and it's a good article, and it's well researched, you have a really good chance of ranking. We also make sure we have this outline for all our posts, again, where we tell the writers exactly what they need to cover, and how we break it down, the most important parts of the topic. And usually, again, it makes it much simpler for the writer to tackle it, basically section by section. We also cover Google questions, so you obviously want not only the snippet at the top, but you want to hopefully be in those rich answers. Rich answers is a great entry for a lot of lower ranking sites because Google is more permissive there in terms of letting lesser known entities into that space. So you want to make sure you cover those verbatim really in the article ideally, and then you answer it in a really relevant way. And we also recently put this in, how to optimize for RankBrain. So again, this relates to RankBrain as well as voice search. Research the intent behind every word. At the bottom of the results page, again, the related searches, you'll see that. And then start to optimize for voice search now. So the who, what, why, where, and when. And a good place to find that is actually the Google ads at the top. So again, the paid ads. Those are crafted very carefully in order to rank. Their language you can look at, and you can not obviously not duplicate it, but it can impact how you write your answers. The cornerstone. We call about a third of our posts our cornerstones. It obviously plays a huge role in rankings. I think a lot of companies have gone. They falsely believe that people don't read that long anymore, so you can go shorter. Well, Google still gives you a lot of respect for going long. So, being in depth, making sure you're resourcing properly, and you can see, no matter where you look in terms of the blogs, writing over 2,000 words, you're finding the best results, and it's a downward slope as you go below there. So the titles matter. This is something more for just the content specialists here in terms of the editors. So I'm going to go through this quickly. So you want to engage. There's an engaging title. There's a specific title in terms of like using numbers. Here's like offer news, something that might be something you hadn't heard of. Here's something that goes against popular belief. Here's something that seems very shareable. Everybody, knows people who might take birth control pills. Do they know what the side effects are, what the alternatives are? And then, of course, telling people, especially like with the recipes, this is easy. It's not going to be complicated to make. Those are my notes on the right, so that was a mistake. But the key is the left here. Obviously, front load that title tag. And here's an example: weight loss tips. You're going to rank better with the one on the top versus the one on the bottom because you're front loading it. So not only will Google respect you for that, but also most people are more likely to click on it. So you can have multiple H2s. There's only one H1. Have the keyword in 1 to 3 of them. And then we obviously make sure that we have a great lead. You want people to stay on the page, which is really important, right? And also, it's just important as a journalist. You want to hook people, you want to engage people. So not only with your meta description, but your lead or your story. And so not only, again, you're covering the SEO basis in terms of covering the keyword, you're also really writing something that makes them want to keep reading. So we make sure we have, not too dense paragraphs, and that we grab them right away. So part of the lead, we try to provoke with questions. House dust causing fat gain. That actually made a lot of people in our Facebook community mad because they didn't believe it. But there is a study out there for that. Reveal something kind of startling. It's about rhabdo, a lot of people who overtrain, how serious that can be. A shocking fact, this is about mac and cheese containing phthalates. That was in the popular news, so then we decided to write a story about it. Presenting a problem like, ADHD, that again, my parents might have a child that has that, and that's going to hook them right away in terms of maybe there's a new solution they hadn't heard of. Obviously, it's good to leverage emotion once in a while. We wrote about the opioid crisis. That was a good story for us. And then being personal, one of our guest posts, we get people to actually have like almost a testimonial, not a testimonial, but they share their history, their disease history, and how they overcame it naturally. And then they hopefully have their own platform, they can promote it. But obviously it's something that resonates with their audience, because a lot of our audience have serious things going on. So it's also really important to up your linking game. We try to have like 50% internal versus 50% external links, okay? So that's our ratio, and we're trying to link maybe every few paragraphs, 1 to 2 times. You don't want to, we used to link too much, so like our links are usually blue, it'd be way too much blue, really distracting, and Google's not going to give you credit for that. So, and obviously every link should be relevant, right? So the keywords you're linking to, internally, externally, should be relevant to your topic at the top. The most relevant keywords of all, the ones that are really, again, highly searched, that are maybe secondary keywords or highly related keywords, should be close to the top of your post. And then you want to make sure, it closely matches your URL. Ideally, it opens up in a new window, so they're going to stay on the page. You never want to repeat a link, so even though we might source a study several times, we don't want to only link to it once, because Google sees repeated external links, they might penalize you for that. And it's really important to only link out to high domain sites. So a lot of people in the health space, especially natural health space, they might have blogs that actually are useful, that are well written, that are credentialed, but they might have a low domain authority. So linking to them, actually, you might even get demoted for that. So like with all our studies, we link out to PubMed, because PubMed has a tremendously high domain authority. So when you do link out, make sure you're going to a high domain site. You can obviously use, this is, Joe, I don't know if you remember which one this is.
It's actually called Website Authority Checker.
Website Authority Checker, there we go. So it's a free tool, but you can get it on Moz, places like that too, to tell you exactly what the domain authority is. Obviously, you want to get the rank 0 at the top. And it's fairly straightforward, but we did, like one of the great things 97.4 did is they showed all the keywords you ranked on page 2 for. We called it knocking on the door. So we're like, 12 to 16 or to 12 to 20, wherever you're ranking. We want to get to the first page. And so we called it optimizing for the snippet. And we took these steps along with some additional ones. 97.4 actually has a blog post on their site about it. And one of our editors took it on. And it was amazing to see the results. Within like a month, they were going to page 1, and some of them we were getting the snippet for. And obviously there's different ways you can get the snippet. The meta description, this is, again, ideally using the main keyword towards the front. You're obviously using, hopefully, a secondary keyword. You don't want to keyword stuff this either, however, so don't go crazy, but 1 or 2 secondary keywords if it makes sense. Again, you want to engage. I think meta descriptions used to be very mechanical. Now Google wants them to be fairly well written, and obviously users want it to be well written in order to click. A good place to look, again, is the AdWords at the top. Just see what kind of language is resonating, why those are getting top placement. They might have some hints there. We make sure we obviously engage with design too. I think that's definitely a distinguishing factor for us compared to some of our competitors. We have these great graphic designers. Most of our, by the way, I don't know how all you guys work, but most of us are remote. All our graphic designers reside in Buffalo, New York. A lot of us editors are in Pennsylvania. But we coordinate through Slack mostly, and Basecamp, and we have kind of a good thing going. So they create, really engaging headers, infographics. We have an infographic in every cornerstone, maybe 2 infographics that obviously we use on Pinterest as well. These are for our Facebook graphics, our newsletter graphics. And then, of course, you want to make sure you don't neglect your alt tags. It's still very important. Again, don't keyword stuff. Make sure you're using that keyword every time you're using the graphic. Keep it relevant. And we also make sure you use article tags. So if you're not going to write an article, you want to make sure you cover all the synonyms, but also articles that you probably will not, that are highly related to that post, and you will not write a separate post about. And this feeds into PJ. He's going to come up here and talk for a few minutes about Tf-Idfs. And for those of you who don't know about that, it's really fascinating. in terms of how to rank. But he told us this about 6 months ago. 50% of your time, your editorial time, should be spent on old posts. And it does make sense. When you look at it, it's like when you grow a garden, you can't just plant it and go on. I think a lot of people do that with content. They post and forget about it. You have to continue to tend to those posts. And this is borne out by a HubSpot look at monthly views before and after they updated their post. So I'm going to give this to PJ. This is the Tf-Idf, so you really have some stumbling blocks with certain posts. You think you did everything right and you're still not ranking. Here comes the Tf-Idf.
Great, thank you. So we've learned that Dr. X's team clearly knows a lot about content. Ethan laid out a really good groundwork of all the basics and the advanced parts that you need to do to make a content strategy successful. What I want to jump into is what next? What's the missing secret sauce? For us in this regard, it's been Tf-Idf Analysis. Those of you that don't know, we abbreviate it because it's a really arduous, long name. Term frequency, inverse document frequency. And let me explain what that is. So we all know what keywords are. We see keywords like coconut oil for hair, coconut oil moisturizer. These are things we're familiar with. Keyword research is going to reveal keywords like these and a lot of others. You're going to see words that have volume attached to them, cost per click, estimated difficulty, loads of metrics like that. But they're all going to have to do with coconut oil. You can probably get there on your own. If you're really dedicated to making good content, you're going to need to run Tf-Idf analysis that will reveal words like this. My favorite one that comes up for coconut oil is diaper rash. Like, you wouldn't normally get to that conclusion if you were just running keyword research. Tf-Idf is especially critical before you even start writing because it helps with the outline process that Ethan showed. The results are impressive. If anybody wants to take a guess the day that we implemented Tf-Idf here, I'll save the trouble. That was when we did it. You can see the month over month. Again, we saw a huge amount of growth. 1,300% growth in page views. And what I thought was really cool is, like, yeah, we got numbers to go up, but my favorite part is we got user engagement to go up. Users like this stuff. It's not just about the bot anymore. It's about people. And Tf-Idf is where we see the best middle ground to do that. So our job is packaging that up to a really good editorial team that essentially executes on that. Give back to Ethan.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So last but not least, if it makes sense for your organization, it often makes sense to reach out to partners, or not necessarily maybe direct competitors, but they work in your space. They might have their own platform again, where hopefully they can share the article. You can get some nice backlinks that way. It gives you some good authority as well. Also, I thought that was interesting from social marketing writing that a lot of your audience, they perceive blogs of multiple authors they find it to be more credible. So one thing that's very risky with a company that's just Dr. Axe is Josh himself is looked at very critically. So it's like we saw what happened to Dr. Oz. And so when you're so highly dependent on one personality, you have to make sure not only do you hopefully preserve and preserve that reputation and hopefully grow it in the right way. We have a publicist. But also don't forget to reach out to other partners who can actually up his credibility. So, like certain things that he's not a specialist in, like children's health, women's health, we go out and we go to like-minded partners and they post on a regular basis. And then, of course, we reach out to them to post on their sites. So, like, we're starting to write more about organic farming. So we have organicauthority.com. This is one of the stories. And then here was just one of our main competitors, but we have a good relationship with them, Healthline, and we write for them as well occasionally. So I think that's it. And we're going to do a little Q&A. Okay, got it.
Thank you, Ethan. Let's give him a big round of applause. It was great. And hopefully we need some of that activated charcoal for this shellfish for you. I feel bad about that.
Say one thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we have much time for Q&A because I, of course, went long. Apologize. But you see my, if you go back to that last slide, it's ethan.boldt@drax.com. So anybody has questions, like the fellow said before
They'll
me,
put it up
I
for
too
you.
love to engage with discussions about SEO and how to help each other. Hit me with any questions you have, seriously. Be happy to answer.
And Ethan and his team, I think Julie, Alyssa, and Joe are here as well. Some of his team, they're here throughout the time, so they're great for questions. I think you might have your own questions. One question I would maybe pose to them throughout the time, because they do this really elegantly, really, really well, is they're writing to satisfy the demands of the Google bot, but also for that end user, for that human mind and that human eye. And they negotiate that complexity really well. We know Tf-Idf satisfies a lot of that, but from a writing perspective, they handle that really well. So that might be a good question to ask them as well. We're glad that we have them, and you get the Dr. Axe Super Power Greens in your pack, so enjoy those. We're gonna go on a 10-minute break. Again, bathrooms are just to the right around this.